So we are going to be starting now. Today is a little bit different for those who were here on Monday. So for those who are repeating, I think it wasn't that terrible. I think we all had more or less a great time, and we also got to new people. We also have some people who are going to be presenting today who weren't present. So there's a few surprises for you also there. So I will begin with a quick recap of what we had yesterday before we moved into today's program. We began our ministers' final conference, reaching the decarbonization goal, with several presentations, beginning with Minister proper and the technologies that are driving our research. Then we moved into our sister project, HiStor, which is really linked and continuing some of the work we initiated. So that's something we are really looking forward to see advance in the future. We also had some more presentations in the evening with Project Steam Drive, with Product Tech R3, and a micro and macro perspective on the storage, so thermal storage for industrial and residential use. And I think the most interesting part, at least for me, was actually doing the debate we had with the group remarks from the representatives from different projects. It was, in part, it was anticipating the debate we are going to have today. So it was really about permits, incentives, how regulations can be catalyzing our efforts or sometimes hindering them. And we also had, like I said, perspectives from industry and for the residential solutions. So now we are incorporating to this more academic perspective, we are including also associations and clusters to discuss policy recommendations. That's the main goal for today. I think we need to take with us some ideas from yesterday, some of the debates that need to continue on flexibility, on the better use of local resources, that systematic approach on creating a new ecosystem in which we either go for less energy or a more green energy. But in the end, I will just remember the phrase from our own project coordinator, which I think it stuck with me, like the best energy is the energy you don't use. So just a thought for today. So on today's program, what we are going to provide after we do this obligated welcome is a brief introduction into the policy briefs we developed in Minister. Then we will have a little break at 10:30. Looking forward to it as well, because I know that also we have several people who wanted to connect yesterday and didn't have time because we were frankly quite a lot. And then we will move into a panel discussion on the thermal energy storage technologies. And I hoped that you also have some present thoughts that you want to bring forward, because at the end, we will also have some room for a quick Q&A. I will also be starting with the first of the policy briefs, so in the next presentation. I will be followed by two of my colleagues, Yolanda and Carlos, who are going to be presenting the following policy briefs. But before we start, you should have with you, or you should have in the outside, these little leaflets that will lead you directly to our Zenodo community, where you can find these policy briefs if you wanted to check them. Can we move to the next slide, to the next presentation, please? Thank you. So I have to say that originally, Minister didn't have any plans for policy briefs. This is something we incorporated later as a recommendation from the European Commission, reviewers. Now is more trendy to use the knowledge generated in these research and innovation projects in order to generate recommendations and to talk about the implications of these recommendations. But by the time we made the proposal for Minister, this wasn't the case. But we recognized the importance, and we also needed to address that in order to disseminate Minister technologies, we needed to overcome certain barriers, and those barriers were related to standards and regulations across Europe. And can we move on into the presentation? Like I said, 3 policy briefs. The first one on the use of ammonia, the main driver, technological driver for Minister. A second one on the PVT collectors, the novel solution developed by NDEF Technologies, and a series of incentives we want to recommend for the adoption, the widespread and quick adoption of energy storage systems for buildings. I will be presenting the first one. We already had much of this already presented yesterday with our colleague Dries, with our colleague George, and of course during Carlos' presentation. You also had the opportunity during Marco's presentation to see about the business model for Minister. So, like I said, do take your time if you want to read them in large. We are not going to be providing a lot of detail because that will take the whole morning, perhaps the whole day, to go over the technical details for every 3 of them. And also I wanted to complement what was said yesterday because, like I said, ammonia is a great deal for us. So it is not that Minister is not complying with regulations or that we cannot comply with regulations. We do, in fact. But what we want to ascertain is the fact that there are not enough regulations for the use of ammonia in residential sector. We are lacking directives. We are lacking a direction, a clear direction from policymakers in order to deploy this technology. And in the case of the use of ammonia, we are limited in the amount we can deploy for these units. 150 kilograms is the threshold we followed. And in this implementation of the technology, we are also restricted below 100 kilowatt hour. So you can see that already from the performance and capacity point of view, we are facing several limitations. But it also comes at a cost, at an economic cost, because by adhering to industrial standards, when trying to make a residential installation, we are also driving up costs. In the case of Minister, we wanted to point out that ammonia has several benefits that we need to explore. First of all, it can be said that it is environmentally friendly. In contrast with other technologies that are available to homeowners, it is also scalable, it is flexible, it can provide services that are demanded by the residential sector that are not fulfilled nowadays. Particularly interesting is that the ammonia technologies, the ones we have implemented in Minister and the ones designed and implemented in the project, have shown no performance loss for over 20 years. So if there is any limitation from the point of view of the components of Minister, it is not going to be either the use of ammonia salts with the graphite, it is not the TCM reactor we have developed for Minister. Also, something that we need to step up, but it is really comparable to other technologies, is that maintenance is really manageable. It can be, we are going to get into more details later, but it is something that it requires little intervention. So we also think of this as another advantage compared to what's available today. It is fully recyclable. Both the ammonia salts and the graphite used for conductivity, they can be separated and there's also a value chain that can receive them and repurpose them. Also particularly interesting in the case of mini-store, if we are thinking from the perspective of the end user, is that not only is overperforming from the point of view of the efficiency that most systems can provide, but it also operates without noise, which is a convenience for most installations, because it also provides a new opportunity not only for buildings that are being constructed, but also from other installations in which we can agree that the home park across Europe is quite old, and in certain countries we are looking at 50, 60 old home stocks. So this is something that needs to be addressed. And like I said, not only there's a mature technology and a value chain that accompanies it, but also we are seeing growing numbers of uses for ammonia. Of course, we cannot understate that we are following these limitations because ammonia can come with certain risks, limited risks, but risks nevertheless. These risks are from the point of view of health, because it can cause discomfort. There's also the mild flammability inherent to the use of ammonia that is also limiting the amounts we can use, and the corrosion of other components. But these usually are addressed like we did in mini-store, by enhancing monitoring, by trying to make a comprehensible risk assessment of that the design really follows, and to restricting access for the maintenance of the unit. If you've seen images from mini-store, from the brochure, from the website, you'll see that it's encapsulated and it's containerized, and it's also separated into different entrances. And that's obviously for economy, for the installation for prototypes, but also so that we can comply with the basic security rules. It also comes with some barriers, because we need to evolve from mostly industrial regulations to something that doesn't exist as of now, which is a residential regulation for the use of ammonia. Because right now we find that there is a disproportionate effect into the characteristics of the mini-store system, but particularly in the use of ammonia, for something that really entails low risk in the case of residential applications. And like I said, we need a way forward. So in the case of this first policy brief, we can summarize some of the recommendations, starting with the transportation and commissioning of the unit, which is something we really discussed throughout the project, but we didn't have time to address because it wasn't initially built for it, this project. We need permits simplified, because one thing is for an industry that can have management services, that they can have the bureaucratic part already solved because it's in their day-to-day activities. But this is different when it comes to end owners, so the homeowners and end users for the residential sector. We also need comprehensive and quick training for technicians that had to keep up with the units as they are deployed. And this has to be tailored for residential applications, like it is for other technologies out there. I'm thinking on gas boilers, heat pumps. It's just a matter that we need these norms established so that we know what to adhere to. More particularly, now thinking on the deployment of the technology at large scale, we need a new standard for all the system. So a holistic view on how an ammonia technology can be integrated for residential use. And this also includes the monitoring and containment of the unit so as to make it easier and modular, like mini-store is, to install in different energy realities for homeowners. We also recommend the update of the Seveso 3 directive because we are now discussing a low-risk application this is no longer an industrial installation or a refrigeration installation. We are talking about a unit that is needed to provide domestic hot water, cold and hot storage for residential use, plus the battery that. So we're really thinking about an ecosystem that it provides different technologies, but at a low risk. And if we are thinking about the permits, which is something we really discussed yesterday, we need to allow the pre-certification of these ammonia-based systems that are complex in their design, but not from the point of view of the commissioning of the unit and decommissioning of the unit, because we need to be adaptable if we are going to make use of the advantages of Minister, of its modular design. We need to be quick, we need to be standardized. And that's everything for my side. Like I said before, we are going to have 2 other presentations of policy briefs following up. Then we will have a break and there will be time for Q&A. But if you have a present thought that you need addressed, feel free to ask at the end of each presentation. So without further ado, I will present Yolanda from NDEF. She's going to present the second of the policy briefs. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. Hi, welcome all. I am presenting the PVT solar collectors. That is one of the technologies that has been used for the Minister project. And I'm going to start explaining what is a hybrid solar collector. A hybrid solar collector or a photovoltaic thermal collector combines both photovoltaic and thermal technologies in a single unit and produce simultaneously electricity and heat. The idea is that the solar panels combine a PV laminate with a heat absorber. Thus, the PV laminate produces the electricity, typically of a photovoltaic panel, but these photovoltaic panels got progressively hotter within time, and so the heat absorbers evacuate this heat and produce this low temperature heat. This is important because it's low temperature. And this is an overview of how is the PV panel. As you can see, from layers 1 to 3, there are the typical layers of a PV panel. That is the part that is producing the electricity. But we are complementing this with this thermal absorber that is layer 4 and the insulation. This insulation is just to try to get as much heat as possible in the heat absorber. And also this aluminum frame that backs everything together. And this panel has both electrical and hydraulic connections. What are the advantages of this kind of elements? As I have said before, we can produce both heat and electricity in the same panels. And as the PV panels has a standard condition in which they have the best efficiency, the efficiency of a PV panel falls down when it gets hotter. So it improves the electrical performance of the PV cells because they make it work at the best point of work. And also, as we have these 2 technologies joined together, it increases the energy production by a square meter. Thus, optimizing the use of the roofs. If you have a small space in your roofs, you can have this combination of both technologies. Also, it facilitates the integration with heat pumps, that we will go to this later. And we can have an overview of how these PVT panels are made. And so I told you before there was an insulation level. You have an insulation part in the back of the panel. But we can have, in the left side, you have this, we call it PVT 0, that you only have the PV and a heat absorber, just to try to evacuate heat. Thus, increase the electrical production and have a small part of heat that is recovered. If you add an insulation layer in the back, you can have more heat produced, but you are not having as much as possible. And you can go to a PVT2 technology that is called a glaze collector, in which you have insulation in the front or in the back. What happens? That if you have this highly insulated panel that we have here, the PVT2, you are increasing the heat, but also you are moving to have a PV panel hotter. That this is something you don't want to. So we need to move between a compromise. In Minister project, we have used both PVT2 and PVT1 technologies, because PVT2 try to increase the heat produced in detriment of the electricity, also providing electricity, and PVT1, gets more electricity. It is worked to perform more electricity. Also, we can move to different types of PVT panels based on the heat transfer fluid, because I have told you that we are evacuating heat, but we can evacuate heat with different mediums. In Minister, we have moved in PVT water or PVT liquid, because this is a mixture between glycol and water. And yeah, it has better efficiency because they can provide more heat because you are using water. But you have the maintenance that requires a solar thermal installation because you are moving water. So you need this maintenance. Another heat transfer fluid that you can use is air. So you are evacuating the heat of the PV panel with air, and it is simpler. It is simpler than the water one or the liquid one. Requires less maintenance, but you can get less heat. So you always need to move between a compromise of two technologies when developing PVTs. Also, there are other types of PVTs with refrigerants or some PCMs in the panels to evacuate heat, but there are more in the Erranti states. And what leads this to us? So this PVT technology can be used for diverse applications like pool heating or domestic hot water, because you are moving in a temperature about 40, 45 degrees. We are in low temperature applications. But we can combine these PVTs already with another renewable technologies to produce more heating or produce cooling or enhance the renewable production for the system. And those are the approach we are taking in this policy recommendation that I'm going to explain you now. One option is to combine PVT system with other solar technologies. This is an approach we have followed in Minister, because as I told you, we have a low temperature fluid, but if our application is different than the usual ones that they are tailored as temperatures we need, we can, in this case, integrate it with solar thermal collectors to increase the thermal pan, to increase the temperature of the fluid and you can use for more diverse applications. In this case, for Minister, because the TCMs require a higher temperature than initially. And you can also combine PVT system with heat pumps. And what is interested with this application? You can have different forms of integrating PVTs with heat pumps, but you are providing, with the PVT, you are providing the electricity that the heat pump requires for working, and also the thermal part of the PVTs contributes to the heat pump's performance because you are preheating the system, the tank. Because in this case, as you can see here, you are heating the same tank. So you are using the heat from the PVTs, and then the heat pump is using the same tank just to produce the heating demand. And these two integrations are focused to the energy production, but you can just combine this with the energy storage. That is the thing that we have also been doing at Minister, in which you can integrate the PVTs with both electrical storage and thermal storage. In this case, the PVTs are heating the hot water tank that is used with the TCM, and this holds the general systems. And in this case, it can be used with hybrid systems because Minister, as we have already said, can produce heat and cold. So this is important because PVTs can be an important part of the system combined with another energy renewable systems. So that's all from my side. I has been told to be really short and quick, so I hope it has been as said. I don't know if, Oscar, you want to make me introduce Carlo or?
No, I was just checking if we had any comments from our audience online.
Okay.
So, like you said, you can come down
okay.
now, and I will introduce our project coordinator. Carlos Ochoa, if you can join us on the stage. He will be presenting the third policy brief, and I think is also going to provide an overview and a way of summarize what we have discussed yesterday, but also what we have presented today. And just as a reminder, we will have a break right afterwards, so feel free to ask any questions you have at this stage, because then we will move outside again for a short coffee, half an hour coffee, so that you can also get to know each other. And then we will come back to have our expert panel. So, Carlos, whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Oscar. So I will talk about the policy brief regarding compact high thermal storage and using the case of Ministor. Then, question mark? Yeah. So I will not present again the system because obviously that's what we are discussing day after day in these 2 days of our event. But I will just make a quick recap that Ministor is a system that uses energy from renewable sources such as the sun, and then stores it in a highly performing thermochemical storage. That is then provides as a system that supplements domestic hot water or heating through a liquid medium. And this is done through several components. The most fundamental of it is the thermochemical reactor. And this is then upgraded by a heat pump, and then it's stored in PCM tanks. Of course, as Yolanda has presented, it is powered by the sunshine from the PVT panels, which are also an innovative element. But what I wanted to talk about is the implementation of the thermal energy storage in the households. As we can see today, there isn't much of thermal energy storage in the around, except for maybe a boiler that could be highly performing, but that is not enough. And with Ministor, we have demonstrated that thermochemical storage can be a way to go beyond even latent heat storage, because we can achieve more than 10 times the heat density of water. And of course, this will be a more compact solution. However, there are several problems, as also Oscar was mentioning. One of these is the carrier for the heat. In this case, we use ammonia because it presents several advantages. And also the system has been manufactured in order to be safe and highly performing, and to have many reversible reactions over the course of over 20 years. So of course, we need a suitable business model because this technology at the moment doesn't come cheap. As our colleague Marco presented yesterday, the high initial cost can be a deterrent, but there are several ways in order to introduce the technology. One of these is energy as a service, which means that possibly, and maybe you have seen this in several energy companies, they offer it as part of a bundle. Let's say you sign up today, for example, for a thermostat, and then in return you get also a year of service, etc. So something can this be made, and this will simplify in a way how the homeowner approaches it, also simplifying the permits, the maintenance, because it's all part of a package. So this is one of the possible ways to go. Another way is that there should be more incentives in terms of the policymakers for distributed energy systems. This might sound counterintuitive because now everything is district heating and similar systems, but in any case, we also need a sort of backup system that, as we have seen, when we have large networks, they could fail but still have a system that you can depend on, for example, in the critical days or when there are events, for example, a blizzard, etc., where the system might not be able to meet the peak demand, then we can supplement it with natural renewable energy. Also, we have to take into account that there are some ways that we can recover heat, waste heat from our homes. There are, at the moment, some small-scale systems that might recover the heat from ventilation, etc., but there are still other ways, for example, from hot showers, from the domestic hot water that is wasted, also from cooking, etc. So there is potential to recover this waste heat, which might not be much day by day, but when you accumulate it, then it's quite a good amount. At the same time, we have to take the thermal energy storage system as a key piece of the decarbonization of the renovation of buildings, since there will be extra heat that is not required, but we can still take it from the nature, the renewable energy sources. Then this can be a way to finance the renovation through the savings in energy. At the same time, if we want a clean energy transition, we must take into account thermal energy storage, since it's the way to manage the variability, for example, of solar resources, of wind, etc., biomass, etc., so that we can have a better management of this renewable energy. And also that we can increase the penetration of the use of solar and wind, so that we can have a better future and a clean energy transition. And that's briefly my presentation, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Carlos. So, quick information from our side. Like I said before, we are going to be now moving for a coffee break before we prepared our guests for the panel of experts that we'll have right afterwards. Just to remind everyone to please put your signature down, just in case, because I understand that in the second day some of us may have forgotten. If you want to access these policy briefs, you have a leaflet outside, just right beside the main leaflet for the project. This leaflet will direct you to our Sonoro community so that you can access all three of them in full detail. And because I know that some of you are going to be leaving soon, some of you already left, I get that the travel arrangements can be complicated. For some of you, I also have to say that we are going to be present at the energy fair of the Sustainable Energy Week. So tomorrow and the day after, we are going to be complementing everything we have said today with a stand in the European Sustainable Energy Week. We are going to be present in the Charlemagne building, so right down the road, 5 minutes by walking in the second floor. Just to remind you that you need separated access. You have to register in the Sustainable Energy Week conference separately from this event. So in case you want to access it later on, I would recommend you, if you haven't done so, to use this break time to quickly go to their website and register, because you will need an identification that we will send you in a QR form. And this stand is called Powering a Green Transition. Is the stand C5. Today we have our colleagues from Inestec actually in the stand. Tomorrow and the day after it will be time for Steam Dry, Maxima and Minister. So Steam Dry you already knew from the presentation yesterday. Maxima and Steam Dry we also have in the poster exhibition in our coffee zone, and obviously Minister we have told you enough already. So the hours for the venue are from 8:30 to 7 in the evening on Wednesday, and also from 8:30 but to 6 o'clock in the evening for Thursday. So bear that in mind when you want to visit the premises. And without further ado, I invite you to go now to our break coffee. Thank you.
one more time. One more time.
Well, thank you all for being ready for this next part. We will now have our panel discussion on the thermal energy storage technologies for the residential sector and value chain. So I will be introducing our panel of experts. They will be joined by the presenters of the policy briefs. So without further ado, I will like our experts to come and sit in these chairs so that we can start the panel discussion. First, we have Valérie Séjourné from Solar Heat Europe. Please have a warm welcome. Camila Barreneche from the University of Barcelona. Nonito Aneiros from Cluergal, which is the Galician Renewable Energy Cluster. And our very own Carlos Ochoa and Yolanda Lara, who presented before the policy briefs. We also have with us D62, who co-authored the policy brief on ammonia. He's here in the room with us. So if you have any specific question, I will say to you that you address it to him directly when we end the event. So what I will do is to join all five of you in the stage, and I will ask you to, at least for our panel of experts, to tell us a little bit about yourselves. What is your expertise, a little bit about your institutions you are representing, so that we get to know you a little bit better. Do you want to start, Camila?
Yeah. Thank you for your invitation. My pleasure for being here. I work as associate professor at University of Barcelona in the Department of Material Science, where we are, our focus of research is the optimization of materials for thermal energy storage, mainly TCMs and PCMs, but also we have work a lot on sensible heat for big applications.
Thank you, Camila. Nonito.
Good morning. Thank you very much for your invitation. I am here representing a cluster, an Entrepreneur in Research and Development Centers Association in Renewable Energy. We are in Galicia, North Coast. We have various strengths in renewable energy. We have wind, water, sun, and also geothermal energy. And also, I am here representing my own group because we are in the value chain that we are talking today about the value chain in energy and storage equipments and this fact, no? And that is my brief presentation.
Thank you, Anita. Valérie.
Yes. Good morning. I'm Valérie Séjourné, the Managing Director of Solar Heat Europe. Solar Heat Europe is the industry association based here in Brussels and representing the full value chain of the solar thermal and PVT industry. So we have been created more than 30 years ago, and we are really advocating for a better regulatory framework here at EU level for the uptake of solar thermal technologies. So in our membership, we have manufacturers of solar thermal collectors and PVT collectors. We have research institutes, we have project developers. And the four markets in which we focus on are residential building, tertiary buildings, district heating, and industry decarbonization, thanks to solar thermal. So thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. I will also ask Carlos and Yolanda to reintroduce yourselves for those at home, for those who were not following previously. I think it's also interesting. So very quickly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Yolanda Lara. I'm R&D manager at NDF Engineering, that we are an SME based on Spain, and we are focusing on all things solars. We work with installation, but it is more a regional level. We install both solar thermal and photovoltaics, and we develop PVTs, as I have said before, that combines both electricity and thermal energy in only one panel. Thank you.
Thank you. Carlos?
My name is Carlos Ochoa. I'm a senior researcher at the International Energy Research Centre, which is based in Cork, Ireland. And I'm the coordinator of the Minister project, but at the same time, we also develop solutions for energy and buildings, both new and retrofit.
Thank you, everyone. Well, I'm Óscar Bernardez from FEUGA, the Galician Enterprise University Foundation. Minister, we are part of the communication dissemination effort, but we are a knowledge transfer foundation based in Spain in support of the 3 Galician universities. The way this is going to go is that if you have anything you want to bring to the table already, feel free to do so. Feel free to interrupt me anytime, or your colleagues, without being rude, of course. And I will also go with a round of questions for you, so to try to animate the conversation, but also to include all the perspectives here, because as you know, we were mostly focused on academia and research in the first day of this conference. Now we have included other profiles, associations, and cluster in this case, but also this also reflects a wider profile and wider considerations for our end users, both in the industrial and residential sector and all the technologies involved. So I would like to start by reflecting a little bit on what we heard from Minister properly, but all the other projects who presented yesterday, and in a more general approach, do you think there is any better way to capitalize in all the knowledge we generate in research so as to make a better recommendation, so as to complement what normally the coordination and support actions, the CSAs, do instead of us? Do you think is the role of researchers to be more involved in recommendations and policy recommendations, in regulations, or is there any actor that should step up and fulfill that role?
Maybe we'll start because from the overview of the coordination of our EU project, yeah, it's a doubt that we always have because you have limited time in your lifetime, so either you do the research or you do the policy. But you need the knowledge from both because you have the practical experience, and probably the policy makers, they have another background that is not exactly technical, like ours in engineering, etc. But also they are not experienced in terms of what are the difficulties that we face day by day for the research projects, the challenges that we have, the results that how they can be applicable, because you can take a headline, let's say 50% energy reduction, but under which conditions? And this is something that also we need to make clear. Like, okay, there are reductions, but maybe they come from specific conditions. So yes, we have to step up for the policy, but we also don't need to forget our roots of the research. So obviously there should be, maybe through umbrella associations like Solar Heat, that they can take the research that is done, the results, and explain to the policymakers.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, indeed, policy is the heart of an industry association, especially at EU level. We have our members doing that at national level. So it's really in the DNA of what any industry association would do to really represent the sector that its members constitute and defend the uptake, the further uptake of this technology, and create a good regulatory framework. So this is the heart of what we do in Solar Heat Europe, to really represent well the solar thermal and PVT technologies and ensure that there is a good EU regulatory framework which is then transposed into national law. And we not only advocate for this good policy legislation at EU level, but also support our members to equip them with good arguments so that the national implementation gets done adequately as well. So in our ecosystem at Solar Heat Europe, the membership includes not only industry manufacturers, but also national associations. Of course, we also have research institutes. We don't have you yet, but the door is very open. And all our full and direct members are invited to join the working groups that we have. We have one for buildings, we have one for the large-scale market. And according to the developments, we can create new ones. Like, we don't have one yet on the topic of storage, but I think we should definitely have one. So indeed, there is a lot of work going on. I'm in the association only for a couple of years, but I see all these EU projects. I must confess that I was not aware of Minister until you reached out to invite me. So maybe I missed something, but I think there is a room for us as, hub. I would like SolarHit Europe, representing solar thermal technologies, to be the hub and reference portal and reference point for all the research and EU projects relevant to the solar thermal technologies, which can help further its uptake. So I am with you that all these relevant projects, we were talking about Ship2Fair at the coffee break with Yolanda. There are others in which we are involved directly as SolarHit Europe in consortium, but we are not in all of the solar thermal related projects. So there is something to do to definitely benefit from this good technical work in the consortium through the Research Institute, and whenever there are indeed policy recommendations to make sure that we get a chance to know what are your recommendations and ideally articulate them in a consolidated way through SolarHit Europe. So by all means, yes, let's make those bridges and help the market grow, because what we are all after is a successful energy transition with the relevant technologies that exist, that are there, and stimulate the growth of the market. So I'm open to ideas, and we have a project, we have a website which we have redone recently. There is a section for EU projects there, and we feature the ones where SolarHit Europe is directly involved, but I'm also okay to promote the ones which are of relevance and in a dedicated section. So happy to discuss that further. Yes.
I find it interesting because in that regard we have technology platforms, we have different kinds of networks that I think they are pretty well established from what they were perhaps a decade ago. We more and more know each other, and there are new links that previously didn't exist, but perhaps we are missing certain actors. And this is something we discussed, Nonito and me, yesterday. There are figures such as a cluster that in certain projects, in hindsight, we mentioned, oh, it's a pity that we didn't include some different expertise, some different qualities, and actors that can bridge those two realities. What's your experience from the point of view of being in a cluster of renewable energy?
Yes, we are 125 members now. We have companies that produce energy, distribute the energy. We have engineering, we have maintenance companies, all type, a very big chain value. 125, nobody works in thermal storage. Nobody knows this type of projects. It was incredible because I have colleagues, what's happening? I am invited to this, about what can I talk? And it's a problem. So if we want to keep the knowledge, we must go down. And down are my people. I have 200 partners in my company. They are mechanical, they do assembly, and they must know this technology, and they must recommend. There are in our cluster a lot of SMEs, perhaps 40 SMEs do maintenance, do assembly, installation. They must need this new type of projects, this technology, and recommend. But we need a very big training. What is happening now? It's just now we have approved a new framework in Spain with the integrated plan for climate, and that it is bringing money. We have an open call now for grants, for support, for innovation projects in storage. And now in Galicia, we have 100 million of euros from the government to innovate in this field. So it can be a good moment.
Also, continuing on knowing about these novel technologies, there's also perhaps an aversion in certain calls to pay more attention to these novel technologies that perhaps, since they are not already into market, there are certain players that will simply focus on the technologies they have already developed. Do you think this can be a problem going on, that these novel technologies, although interesting, and even if we made them widely available and that are known for all the value chain, do you think there is still some resistance into adopting them because there are other technologies, so because some partners are already invested in legacy technologies that they are barriers to novel technologies? Can you, Camila, perhaps expand on this?
Yeah, I think one key point here with thermal energy storage is that this technology was born to be a side technology close to another one. But nowadays, the knowledge about thermal energy storage, even electric storage, of course, make the technology a technology by itself. And this is new. This is new. I think it's something that changed in 15 years. And now we need to be part of course, one group in associations like yours. But also we need to be known by the people who take decisions, and the people that decide what is installed in a building is not a policymaker or a politician, even is not a researcher, is the installer, is the person who understands the technology and know the benefits the technology has. The technology needs to be simple enough to be installed and deal with people, because if you have the technology in your house, you need to make sure that you press the button and do something, and then if you don't want that, you press the other button and stop. And this person in the value chain needs to know the knowledge and convince that our technology is better than others like aerothermia or others like... And another point is that, at least in Spain, the only technology that is fully installed is the one that is somehow recommended or mandatory. I remember the thermal panels that needs to be installed in the upper parts of all new buildings. Not in all buildings, the new ones. If you want to build a new building, you need to install this. You don't know how, but you need to install this. Then the technology needs to fit the market, the price, needs to be simple enough to be understandable by the people, and then the person who decides to install this and not that one needs to understand fully the technology. And this is a key point. I think energy storage needs to be taught to these installers that we have in the value chain. This is the key point from my point of view.
I really appreciate that you went already to the installation part, because for Minister, and I was discussing this with Adamantio from High-Store. One thing we may not have informed or evaluated so that other people can understand what the process was like was specifically the commissioning and what kind of experience we had so that other projects can avoid those same problems, so anticipate those problems, be knowledgeable about what other projects have experienced, and so that when they come to the installation part, they can speed up the process and use the same manuals, the same recommendations, so to accelerate already those recommendations that eventually will make up to standards or policies. But I'm also interested on the point of view of the end user, because solar is now widely accepted, but we also need to be able to tailor it to specific needs of homeowners. So, what, Yolanda, can you expand on this idea of, okay, we know about the technology, we know about, okay, we are reducing costs, there are novel solutions that we are developing, but is there still some social barrier, or from the point of view of who is actually paying to install this technology?
In the case of solar technology, at least in the case of Spain, yeah, we have this huge change of mind that in the previous year, as Camila told, it was mandatory to install solar thermal in buildings, and due to the legislation, photovoltaic was hindered because nobody installed photovoltaics due to how the conditions were. And then in 2019, suddenly the legislation changed, and a lot of people moved to, not a lot at the beginning, but it moved a lot during the years until 2022, in which there were also grants to help people to install photovoltaic. And it was totally crazy. So this is a part that is always have a part on how easy is to accept a technology, because there is a lot of technologies that are being developed, but it is known that without this initial help, the adopting of the technology is really hard. And when there is this two-faced push, on one side the legislation, that the legislator needs to know the technology and need to want them installed on one side, and then this initial gap from the people just to start the snowball running, right? Because when there is some help for people, to the end user, to adopt the technology, the people start to spread the word. So they start to say, okay, I have this installed in my house, it is working well, I'm happy with that. Also, you have this help, you have this grant, and so yeah. And then it starts spreading, and then it is a way for people to adopt it. And when there is somehow of a critical mass of these early adopters, of these people that have this installed, yeah, it's easier just to have this technology spread. So I don't think it's both, because in the research technologies and the technologies, yesterday we will talk about, Minister, we are on TRL 7, how to reach this TRL 9. So you have first to bring it to market, and then to need this, you need the push from the governments just to, okay, we have this in the market, but we do want this to be adopted, and this is both legislation and both initially they need to help people with money. At the end, I do think it's a crucial step.
So a combination of money and to signal, okay, this is the way forward.
Yeah.
And with these early adopters, they will come more after that. Thank you for that idea, because I think we've flipped the coin. We start with barriers for implementation, but now we are also talking about regulation as an incentive, as a mobilizer of resources. But for me, the question remains, are we quick enough? Because this is a period of changing priorities, of new technologies or novel technologies that have reached a certain maturity. In the case of Minister, we are just before market implementation. What do you think, and this is a question for everyone, do you think the trend is that we are keeping up with the technology, so we are enablers from the point of view of the regulation, or we are still a bit slow, and thus we are slowing down the adoption of these technologies? Do you think, what's the trend? What's the current state of the regulation?
Well, if I can answer. So in the former Commission, there was the Fit for 55 package, which was put in place under Fit for 55. So the idea is to reduce by 55% the emissions of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. So there are key legislations for solar thermal, which include the Renewable Energy Directive, the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Energy Performance of Building Directive, also the ETS2 for buildings. So all this is now agreed at EU level. Hopefully the new parliament is not going to undo all that, but we are in implementation mode. So when we speak to the Commission, they say implementation, implementation, implementation. All these legislations have to be transposed now into national law in the 27 member states. Recently, as SolarHit Europe, for example, for EPBD, Energy Performance of Building Directive, here there is a key provision for solar thermal. Article 10 of that legislation is asking for the solarizations of buildings and producing the most of energy from buildings. The text at EU level is well written because it's for all solar technologies, PV, solar thermal, and PVT. We are really keen that the transposition of this article into national law is also reflecting well the three technologies. So we produced a guidance, which is available from our website, to really give the arguments to the member states on why they need to consider, for example, that buildings may have different energy needs. You know, if you have a rooftop, you're a public authority, you have your swimming pools, it makes a lot of sense to favor solar thermal or PVT because you have a hot water demand extremely strong. If you're a shopping mall and maybe you have more electricity needs, maybe here a mix of technologies would be better appropriate. So we are in this guidance document that we just released, giving some options for member states on taking into consideration the building's heat, for example, meeting at least 60% of the hot water demand in a building thanks to solar thermal. We have also a proposal which is about the energy production per square meter, because otherwise it's, an easy implementation of that mandate could just be to put cheap dumped PV with dumped prices, and then solar thermal is forgotten. So we have different options which are really also reminding that we are 3 times more efficient in terms of energy density compared to PV, and the rooftop can accommodate the different technologies. You can easily share your rooftop space and do the right mix on the rooftop. So there is now a clear framework being open to solar thermal and PVT to flourish. The implementation and right transposition of those legislation at national level is key, so that this would help boost the market, and that when national associations put that into national law, they respect the fair balance and a level playing field between all technologies. So this is just an example under EPBD, but there are others in the Energy Efficiency Directive for district heating, for example, etc. So it's really important that now the implementation of that Fit for 55 package is well done, and that we as an industry, with the right arguments from research and so on, push the visibility as well of that technology. Another argument which we hear a lot here in Brussels is the EU made. There is a clear promotion for made in Europe and promoting our clean tech production from Europe. In solar thermal, we are really proud to be an EU-based EU manufacturing sector. We have companies from Zaragoza to Sweden, Greece and Cyprus and Italy, etc. So we probably also need to encourage authorities in their, for example, tenders for public procurement to favor an EU-made, so that we as a sector can also benefit from the uptake of that. So there are mechanical and legislative tools that the national authorities can leverage to help the market grow. There is another aspect, and this afternoon we will have a session at UCEF at 4:30 together with another association called Sustainable Energy Finance Association. We also here on the topic of financing and supporting the CapEx, because we have a CapEx, and quasi no operation cost for 25, 30 years, but the fact that our technologies are very dependent from the existence of subvention, yes or no, makes the life of our manufacturers a bit difficult. So we also know that we cannot just rely on public subventions. So the session that we will have this afternoon with CEFA, the Sustainable Energy Finance Association, is to really help unlock as well the private financing from private funds. And what they tell us, we have a joint working group with them in SolarHit Europe, is that they need volume. You know, they are not going to unlock their private funds below 25 million euro projects. So how to rethink the business model, and here maybe it as a service also for residential buildings, and would enable to create this volume and this new way to accelerate the uptake. But it's a bit disturbing because it's the old logic of you manufacture, you have your distributors, then an installer who maybe will recommend that or that. I think we need to relook at it also to unlock the private financing, not only dependent from the public subsidies, yes or no, but taking that private funds and using it for the scaling of the technology, but maybe as well relooking at the business models, and that's something new as well in terms of societal approaches and maybe another area of research actually, but we also need to make it happen now. So not that's what I wanted to share. Yeah.
I think it's a positive that we are filling in the gaps we identified. And you mentioned for 55. One other element I think is missing here that it already exists, but we didn't mention, are energy certificates, smart certificates that reflect a new reality and energy consumption realities. Because this brings all about, so who is the consumer, who is the end user of these technologies? It's also a way for them of informing that they are making the right decision, of making an informed decision when trying to purchase one system or another. Do you think it provides enough clarity, or is it really the old thinking just adapted to these new technologies? Do we think we are, with the APC, are we where we are supposed to be from the point of view of the end user? Do they have clear certificates for systems that are smart, that they are efficient? What's your take on this?
Well, I think end users needs to understand what is the technology about, which are the benefits, and of course, if you have a certificate that can recognize what is clearly what is this system doing, it will help them to implement. And another thing that I was thinking when Yolanda was talking is that sometimes when some few people start installing something and they are happy with it, like I'm consuming less, I'm consuming better, I'm more eco-friendly, sustainable, then the other people wants to install it. You know, in Spain, when they put these mandatory solar thermal panels in the roof of the new buildings, many old buildings wants to install it. And this was like a cascade effect, because the installers cannot do it because they were installing in the new ones, and they need to stop this demand from the old buildings. And then when they start doing this refurbishment in the old buildings, the technology was fully spread in the society, and I think not most, but many of our buildings now have this kind of system installed. Then, yes, the certificates will help for sure, but I think the information, simple information for general understanding will help even more. than anything else.
You mentioned the refurbishment, you mentioned there are new buildings, but also older buildings, and that stock is not going to simply evaporate. So it is important that, from our perspective, from Minister perspective, one of the key issues was that it was easy to install, it was modular, and it provided flexibility for different configurations. I was wondering if solar, in that regard, it can also provide availability of these energy sources that are free in some cases. Regulations also have to adapt on that, but they also provide autonomous operation. Do you think this is also a valuable proposal, that if we can include novel technologies, we can decouple or at least be less dependent on the energy system that we had prior to that? Maybe this is a question more for Minister colleagues.
Well, I would say that with every technology, there is always the novelty. And sometimes when you have to prove that this novelty is not just some hype that will go away in a few years, there you need a critical mass of end users. So obviously these are the ones that make a breakthrough, that take risks. But if you can demonstrate that the risks are well mitigated, then you can convince the rest of the population to follow on. So I think it's something that happens with almost every new technology. But again, we need more, like, to spread out the word that this is useful, that this exists. And events like this, I think, help with the purpose.
Yeah, like it suits this idea of energy security we've discussed so much lately. Do you want to elaborate on that?
No, that I do think that decoupling energy production from energy use is something that is, well, now is quite trending in Spain and Portugal, for sure. But yeah, it's important to also adapt the grid just for this new technology. But the kind of systems that we have developed in Ministor that combine both thermal storage and electrical storage are important, because if we are moving to a new paradigm in which different types of energy are being produced and a high degree of renewable energy, it's important to have elements to store this energy. So I really do think that the technology we have developed at Ministor, it has their own room to be installed. We need to work on that gap that we have. But these storage technologies are, as Camila told before, also now are being a technology for themselves, because we need them just to couple with the new energy generation we are moving on. So yeah.
One thing that comes to mind, we've discussed the value chain, we've discussed several actors, and this is a question perhaps more to Nonito, because of that decoupling, that idea that maybe there are actors that are more disconnected. Do you think it is the rule or the exception that we have perhaps created silos, we have created compartments between research and industry? What can we do to overcome these silos?
I think the energy, we talk a lot about this in Galicia. We have a leadership in renewable energy production in Galicia. In Spain, we are, because we have also hydraulic strengths. We are working in hydraulic storage, in pump, and we have big investments for the big companies. So it's not a priority to invest in this type of new projects, because our focus is in very big projects. We have now in a project with 4 gigas for storage. So we can solve the problem of a lot of households and industries. But we think that we must work in connection. Every region, every part must search his own solution, and we need to standard it for another places. And we consider in Galicia that this type of projects, to work together with the university, to work with the small industry is, of course, a priority. And we are always creating spaces and networks to develop it. But now our focus for that is our delay in this type of technology. We are focusing in pump hydraulic. So you were in Galicia, I think, a lot of you, and we have a very big production capacity.
If there's anything else that you want to also contribute now, it's just for timekeeping. We are now approaching the last part of the panel. We'll also have some minutes for Q&A. So if we have any questions, now would be the time for you to start thinking about this and to raise your hands perhaps so that our panel can answer them. But I will just ask you, as a final remark from each one of you, can you summarize one or two concepts that you think we need to work on in the future that perhaps we have overlooked, or because they are there but not enough developed, that maybe we are not paying enough attention? Can you summarize just a couple of ideas, a couple of concepts that you take from this panel? Maybe we can go in starting from here.
Okay. Yeah, for me, it's important to have this research project to develop new technologies. And if we want to have this distributed energy production, we need to have this storage of energy that can be also distributed as we have in Minister Project. But and I do think it's really important, if we do not have the legislators know the technologies, it is quite difficult that the regulations go to favor the technologies. So I think that the policy recommendations aspects are also really an important part of the projects just to be done, and also the work that the clusters and the associations make just to promote these technologies that now are being developed at research level, just to let the legislators know that we have this available. We can just work on this just to start install these technologies at every country in Europe. So for me, that's an important part of the work.
I think, in my opinion, energy storage in general, but also thermal energy storage, is a key enabled technology to help the fully deployment of the renewables, and the technology is ready. And we need the push to make it real in our households over all Europe. And I think, in my opinion, what we need is to convince installators to make the technology the simplest as possible to be easily used by the end users, and some kind of regulation, not to finance some part of the technology, but to push it to the market, to start.
I think that climate is concerns to everybody, to all the world. We have a problem in Europe with the energetic transition, because our industry are having problems with another competition of another countries. So we need more than never to cooperate with countries and people. And so for the projects for technologies, we must be aware of people, because in energy are very important the people, individual, to reduce consume, to promote use of renewable energies, and so to work in it. And we have politicals with a lot of money to invest, to do, and we are having now in Spain, in Galicia, a very big problem with people. We have not people to work. We need to develop installation, photovoltaic, thermal storage, all technologies, but we don't find people to go so quick as we can, because we have perhaps more money than people to spend that money in projects. No? And I think that is one of the other problems. And I want to say, to congratulate to Carlos for the direction of the Minister project and to Feuga for this meeting, because we find very, very interesting.
Yes, well, what we are really advocating for at SolarHit Europe level is on the more visibility of the heat agenda overall, you know, because when people think energy transition, they may think more electricity, and electrification come with that. We need all good solutions, but what we are really advocating for is much greater visibility of the heat needs that we have, and of the availability of direct renewable heat sources like solar heat, which are ready to deploy, no regret solution, low hanging fruit. We can hybridize with all of the other technologies. So visibility of the heat agenda overall, and of the availability of direct renewable heat sources, which come with thermal energy storage. So the visibility and the cost effectiveness of thermal energy storage compared to power storage also needs to come with more visibility for the direct, what I call the direct renewable heat sources. So this tandem is the winning one to cope with the fluctuating demand, but also to make things happen. I agree with you that not only do we have the awareness of the technology to tackle, but then we need to have the people. So it's true that we need to work all together, and this also applies for our friends from the heat pump technology, that we need to make the attractiveness of these kind of functions, more technical functions, appealing for the people to embrace them, and that when people have finally understood that they need to decarbonize, that we are not stuck with that issue. So it's important to be careful on that. Research, of course, needs to continue. There is a project which we are involved since many, many years. It kept being renewed, which is called SECARHC. So it's for the renewable heating and cooling technology. We are here cooperating with district heating, with geothermal, with heat pumps. Solar heat is there. And it's another one where we cross-fertilize. So thermal energy storage is also the common denominator, because the beauty with thermal energy storage is that you can take heat from solar thermal collectors, from a geothermal, etc. So it's also common to also. By all means, let's continue to advocate for our technologies, just so that you know there is in the pipeline some preparations for a heating and cooling strategy at EU level, which is due in Q1 26. So for us, this is something that we have been advocating for quite some time. The last one dates from 2016. So hopefully this will be a framework which is going to give much more support and visibility to the heat agenda overall, and to the availability of our technologies and the storage which comes with that. So feel free to watch out and contribute. There will be consultations on that from the EU soon.
Thank you. Well, almost everything has been said already, but I would like to finalize that maybe how to make the public more aware and understandable of what we have available, so that they can also benefit from it and create a demand for these products, which might drive, again, the industry to be more flourishing, also to be more accessible, and also to push for the correct legislation. So that's my take on this.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions today, for making time to be with us. If there's any question, we will be happy to answer. And if not, I would like to also inform you that at 12, we have the next keynote speech at the Sustainable Energy Week. For those who are attending, just round down the road, 5 minutes by walking in the Charlemagne building. And within the program of the Sustainable Energy Week, as you know, tomorrow and the day after, we have also Ministor, Maxima, and Steam-Dry projects, also on the C5 stand on the second floor of the building. The stand is called Powering Green Transitions. And for those who are staying for the rest of the week, we'll see you there. And for those who have to go home, I wish you safe travels. Thank you for attending our final conference for Minister. And please, a big applause for expert panel. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.